Good morning, everybody. It's Marty the JavaScript Party, and my buddy Rhett is back there. I think she's behind my head. Oh no, yeah, here she is. There you go, girl. She's starting to want to explore up on top a little bit, so that's fun. We'll see how that works out. You can never tell. Sometimes it's like a really good thing when she finds sort of a new thing to do, and sometimes she finds some way of just making it crazy. Right. So basically, I think we have a pretty easy task today, and that is, well, it is 4:20, so April 20th, Monday. It's cold outside. It's probably, I don't know what it is, probably like 50 degrees, 44 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's that. It's really cold. Coldest it's been around here in a while. It was pretty cold over the weekend too. Um, I do not plan to do a show tomorrow because I am going into the office. So I get to talk to my boss. I think I'm supposed to have lunch with my boss, and I'm supposed to have a sit down, like an hour, 30-minute to an hour long, just sit down with my boss's boss. Probably just try to figure out what our next steps are, where we go from here. I would really love to get more into end-to-end testing at work. We have a QA person. He's a very sharp young man, but not super, super focused on coding. He can code, but he's not like that's not like his sort of his focus. His focus is more on manual um, stuff, and we do a little bit of end-to-end testing with Cypress, but um, and he does love it, right? Because we're like it's just so nice because it's so hard to remember exactly how something used to work. You can read the kind of the steps and the expectations, but when you get it, it's almost like you. I think there's a word called codify, which means like lock it down into like legal behavior. So it's like if like maybe it becomes like a sort of a tradition. Everybody mows their lawn, and then like you take all the clippings and you put it at the upper left corner of your driveway when you're all done. You just put them in a bag or something up there. Like, let's say that's just what everyone does. Everyone does that. But like, it's not really in law. It just like one person started doing it, and then another person started doing it, and then pretty much everyone started doing it. I think when you make it to where it's a law, then that's called codification, where you're codifying it. I think make codifying it. Sometimes you'll hear people say it that way. Sometimes you hear codify. Sometimes you hear codify. And it seems like the end-to-end tests kind of codify it. But we are right at the end of a rabbit hole that we've been in where we're deleting things. I thought I had deleted stuff, but turns out, and I would say like my entire career, this when someone said, "Hey, delete something," this is what they meant: delete. It's gone. And that is true. That does mean that, but it's not the job. Depending on what you're doing, that may be a problem. And I think that is a problem on most enterprise applications because, see, when I add this back in and then I delete and then I add and then I delete and then I hit, well, I hate it how I keep doing that. I don't know I kind of don't want this to be simple to go to these entities, but at the same time, so if I delete, if I add, like, right? So I've added all of these, and then I come over here, and then I come in here and I delete them all. And then I hit back. See, I still have all this data that's still sticking around. And that actually is depending on what you're doing. Okay, so 99 times out of 100 applications, this is probably not relevant because honestly, when you just hit refresh, these are all clear. But there are some applications that get used all day long, like or maybe all week long or something like that. And an application like that, this will kill it. this will cause it to just get slower and slower and slower and slower. Maybe even the whole computer to get slower, and then you're just gonna be like, oh, okay, every once in a while you just need to close it down and restart it. Or you need to shut the browser and start it again. And that's because these data objects just start zombieing, sticking around. So that was good. And so I was like, okay, I need to delete those, right? And then what happened was that um, when I went to go delete them, or once oh yeah, when I went to go create a new one, I was like, oh wait, its index is the raw is wrong now. Like when I don't have any, my index should be 1, but it wasn't. It was like 13, and I was like, okay, what's going on? And it was like, oh crap, because I'm not deleting these things. And so I'm all the way through. I'm at the very last one where I'm deleting all of them. The only one that's left is animations, and I realize, oh my gosh, I'm not deleting any of the actual 3 objects. So I have very similar structure to this, but it's holding a bunch of 3 objects, and that is a problem. So anyway, so that is going to be the next round, which stinks. And then on top of that, I do not want this ST mesh dictionary. I thought I had fixed this. I guess not. Um, and this is my meshes. I'm trying to work on, oh, okay, I'm trying to work on animations. But that's because when I delete a mesh, that's my animation. So anyways, we need to go to dictionary. This took like weeks to come up with this scheme, or it took a while to come up with this scheme. But see, I have my 3 mesh dictionary. So let me do that. That was my cat. Kiwi, I have no idea where she's at, but apparently she is not satisfied. ST mesh dictionary. And in this we have an ST mesh. And see, we kind of came up with this whole naming scheme for everything, and the naming scheme is starting to feel very, very comfortable and natural. So that's good. But so now we want to change this to an ST mesh dictionary. And it even did the import for us on line 16. I don't know if you noticed that, but if you didn't, you could always go back in the video. But line 16 just appeared out of nowhere. Um, so it's wild that I didn't actually take care of that. But see how fast that was? The first time it was multiple sessions to do it. Now we do it in 30 seconds, and it would have been a, or probably 2 minutes, and it would have been so much faster if I had just been, um, if I had not been like talking and trying to make this video at the same time. Now, I will also say that this was the very first time where I was scrolling down looking for where I want to start back to work again, and I saw all my emoticons, and that saved me time. So that scanning process is so much easier to see these than this word delete. Delete, I can usually find that, but this is way faster. Um, and I do like how it's like question mark delete. Sort of, I think that indicates that under certain conditions something is just deleted. Whereas this is like, this is getting deleted because the emoticon comes first. The delete emoticon's first. But this question mark, I think, is like a really good way to indicate that there's a conditional here, even though you can't see that there's a conditional because it's like kind of hidden. Um, should delete. And actually, all this is a conditional, right? And then this passes that in, and this is weird, right? Because, but the reason we're doing this is when I see this, this would have been very awkward to me in the past, but now it's very clear to me that we're trying to make the unit tests easier to do. by doing this. So should delete can just be ran. So anyways, so now we're in should delete, and we don't need to really think. We already know that we should delete it. So that's good. And now we see that there's this comment that doesn't have any emoticons in it. So I think that's a pretty good indicator, and it's all caps. So that definitely is a good indication that I don't want this. Now that's going to be interesting because at work I'm going to start using emoticons, but I'm not going to commit them. Um, and so it'll be easy, very easy for me to see if I haven't actually processed a file yet, like done the final resolution of to make it code. Now, I do want to make it very clear that the code that you see at the end that is fit for pull requests is very different than the code that is used to actually build things out. So, like all the code that I was using to build things out is removed because it will fail pull requests, not because I want to remove it. I like leaving that code in there because I find it easier to do maintenance on it later, but other developers don't. And unfortunately, if you want to function and you want to build software, you have to be able to pass a pull request. So, anyways, so we want to go into this, and I think it's called ST animation service. No, we do get the animation service in here, right? We must get the animation service in here because no, it was not the animation. Yeah, it is the animation. Maybe we don't. I thought we did. How do I even create an animation then? Tell me that. Maybe that was like I had experimented with another scheme. Or maybe animation services in my deferred dependencies class. Okay, so let's see where we get an animation ID. Maybe we don't even, I would have thought, you know what? I think the animation ID gets added. Oh, so the animations must get added probably at the scene level or maybe at the, um, let me add one of these things. At the renderer level. I bet you when I go and create a basic renderer, that's when I create the animation. But I won't know, I don't want to try to delete that animation from the basic renderer because there's just no way that's not going to be how that works in the end. Um, so can I take, that's the big question is can I take the animation service in? I can if the animation service does not take the ST mesh service in. At least that's my basic understanding today. I think it may actually be more complex than that, but I think right now it's been a perfectly usable scheme to understand the idea that if I if I go to the animation service and I have never taken the, I've never added the mesh service as a dependency, um, then then it is available to me. And I don't think I do. Private, so I'm going to call this st animation service is equal to, I believe it's an animation service. I don't think animation. Oh, it is st animation service. Good for me. I'm glad I did it that way. Equals inject. This is going to be st animation service. And let's see, it should rebuild. Well, yeah, so it broke. So I cannot take st animation service in as a dependency. So I must take the mesh service into the st animation service. Actually, I would like to actually see. Let's go over there. See if I can go there through here. Yeah. See, here's where we take the st mesh service. Let's see. I feel like let's see what we do with ST mesh service here, because it might make sense too, actually. Yeah, see, this is a perfect example where the child, the lower level um, system is accepting the higher level, is already pulling in the higher level mesh service. So animations get added to meshes, right? So when you think about it hierarchically, animations are below meshes. So I don't really want to take that in. The way the pattern that I've sort of slipped into, I don't really want to take that. I don't want to do it this taking the higher one into the lower one. I want to always take the lower one into the higher one and then bring the higher one in as a deferred dependency. So I need to add a deferred dependency class for animation services. Is that the right way to do it? I don't know. I don't know. But let me. Oops. I don't know what just happened. Okay, so I'm still in. Okay, so this needs to be a deferred dependency, not a real time dependency. So this needs to be deferred dependency. And I'm just trying to learn this stuff, right? Like this is new for me. So dependency. I've probably been an idea that's been bopping around in my head for about 2 weeks now. Um, this needs to be a deferred dependency because because eventually ST mesh service will add animations, but ST animation service this won't. I don't think, anyways, won't ever add meshes. And I feel like there should be like, hey, this look, like maybe eyeballs would be here. Yeah, I feel like that's a good one. Okay, so look, this needs to be a deferred. So what I need to do, what I think is, and see, it would be so easy just to be like, okay, the right way to do this, but it's not for this specific situation, the way this application has been worked out, been developed. The proper thing to do would be to create a deferred dependency class, inject it into that, and then in that deferred dependency class, add a get mesh service, and then get a instance of the mesh service right here. So let's do that also. We'll add a look. Get the get a deferred dependency. Get a st mesh service. Get st mesh from a deferred class. And like I'm saying, like I would say, like I think if you haven't been like, if you've been coding for a long time, you're probably the very first thing you're thinking is, should I make just a generic deferred dependency class that I can generically ask for whatever I want from there? And maybe that does make sense. But if you are going to do that, that needs to be 2 layers away, not 1 layer away. I think you need a way to clearly see what all your deferred dependencies are. And when we do it in here, when we say get me my deferred dependencies, this really has a strong possibility of um, of causing a something to break. Um, or I'm getting lost in the mix. So probably would be good to put like an emoticon that is that I say as deferred. I wonder if there is a deferred emoticon. How about later? Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna put that. So that means that there's something I need to do later, and over here too. And I will tell you that it is emotionally and mentally very stimulating to use these emoticons. And as they start to make more and more sense and all that, it's a really, really good feeling in your brain. So I would strongly like if you're a little burnt out on coding and you're trying to do something, using emoticons in your personal code is probably a really great idea because then it kind of sets your brain to, hey, we're having fun. This is a fun time, not a miserable time. And sometimes being a software developer can be miserable. Not always. Actually, most of the time it's not, but it can be. All right, so we've got our defer. We've got this. I feel like there was something else I wanted to do. But anyway, so now we're in another rabbit hole, right? Now we're in the making the ST mesh service a a deferred dependency instead of a dependency, and then pulling the animation service into our ST mesh service. So I already have that. See, I don't want this to be a deferred dependency. And it doesn't, I don't even know if that was the right way to do it. Basically, what I have created is this little sort of idea that like if anything is below in the hierarchy, then it becomes deferred. And if anything is above, it becomes a regular dependency, a creation dependency. So the top one needs all the bottom ones to be created before it can be created, but the bottom ones get the top one after they've been created. That's really all that comes on. I think that makes sense. I think that is probably the way I should do it. I don't know, maybe it's possible that you go the other way around where like the bottom one is needs all the parent ones before it can be created. So animation would need all the parent top ones and then it could be created. And then when the top one tries to use animation, it uses a deferred version. But basically, one direction or the other, it needs to be deferred. It'd be good if that stayed consistent because um, that is um, um, it'd be good if it stays consistent just because it just saves you some time. So look, and then later. This is not something we're doing now. Okay, this should start. And I want, like, if it's a comment I don't want to keep, I'll put it all in caps. This should start working after ST mesh service becomes a deferred dependency. And that should do it for today. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.